Over the last few years, everything has been gradually accelerating, which is reflected not only on an individual level, but also in societal changes, including the warming of all the planets in our solar system. What does that mean for us? That our state of consciousness, that is, what thoughts we pay attention to and how we feel, materializes faster than in the past. In other words, it's time to stop thinking who we are and to start feeling who we really are. Why? Because he who does not know who he is can only wonder, and this wondering does not go indefinitely, which we can see in this society as crisis or chaos that has escalated in recent years. But before every change, even a favorable one, there is always the chaos first. We can see this, for example, in nature when the seasons change. That spring and summer will come again after autumn and winter. But what or who manages these processes in nature and in the universe in such perfection? And wouldn't it be good for us if we found out what that is and let it manage everything in our lives? One day, before I fell asleep, I was in my imagination already living exactly the life I wanted to have. And I felt a huge burst of golden energy coming out of my chest everywhere around me. The next 3 nights, I had 3 very interesting dreams. In the first one, a divine being took teeth from my skull one by one and inserted new ones. I felt it was a symbol of change of everything in my life. The second night I had a dream in which I tried to better my teeth with braces and they all fell out of my mouth. That was a clear signal that to some things we should not put our noses and leave it rather to the manager of the universe, who will do it perfectly just as he synchronizes the seasons and everything else in the universe. And in the third dream, I perceived a change of the whole planet. There was a change of the Earth's axis. I saw all kinds of colors in the sky, people living cities, and I felt like the whole world was sinking. A few days after these dreams, I started to have health problems. It started with fatigue and high blood pressure, then throat burning, tinnitus, and I had palpitations in the night. Medical examinations found nothing, and it didn't make sense to me why this started happening. After all, I have been meditating and doing what I enjoy for years. At the same time, the corona neuromarketing emerged in the media. And gradually I was getting worse and I began to feel as if I was falling apart and dying. Repeatedly, I felt enormous anger and I always went to a room, closed the door and let it all out by banging, screaming and crying. That always made me feel a bit relieved, and I began to hear an inner voice saying, if you don't make this, you have nothing to do here anymore. During this transformation, I learned about Bruno Gröning and Einstein, which I began doing. It's a relaxed state in which our brain activity lowers down so that our heart and brain can be brought into a coherent state that puts the whole body into homeostasis. But at night I was waking up from indescribable fears that I was going to die and my heart was literally going to jump out of my chest. One night my heart was pounding so much that I was completely cold and my body began to cramp. I just surrendered to the universe and Bruno because I had no other choice. I trusted that if I put my mind aside and won't interfere in this process, that the power that created this body and controls 50 trillion cells in my body each day could handle it on its own. And so it happened. Gradually, the body warmed up and I survived. This experience was very challenging, but it brought me back to the trust we are born with as children. Because as children we are taught to follow the mind, which is a product of the brain that is a record of information learned from other people. And then we often forget to feel who we are. But in these life or death situations we have no choice but to stop identifying with the mind, that is, with the person we think we are, and begin to feel who we really are. In such state, when we let go, the activity of the frontal lobe, which is the center of our mind, shuts off, and when the mind no longer hinders the body, self-regenerative processes begin and miracles can happen. And you probably can't even imagine how beautiful it is to start to feel the presence of this energy that creates worlds again. And that all you have to do is to believe, and it will never let you down. After this experience, from time to time I was still awakened by strong fears, which put me in very unpleasant states similar to schizophrenia, but I had no more heart palpitations. And one day I was awakened by indescribable fear that I was going to definitely die. So I just let go again, accepted the transformation by death, and perceived my old self dying. That Martin died alongside with fear, and I was reborn. I felt a shift in consciousness and even more intense trust. In that moment, Bruno Gruning appeared in my imagination and gave me a golden capsule that I ate. A few days later I received Chaos Mastic, which I ordered, and it was interesting that the capsules were very similar to the one I received from Bruno. And after the first day, when I woke up at night for the first time in such a long time, I had no fear but a clear mind. Since then, I stopped waking up at night and gradually everything disappeared. This whole transformation took about 2 years, and because I listened to my inner voice saying, if you don't make this, you have nothing to do here anymore, I've returned back to myself and started to feel who we really are. It's something so beautiful that you just have to experience it. And I'm indescribably grateful for this experience. In this story, we can see that chaos and those things that seem to be the worst can actually be the best, that can get us exactly where we want to be. And from my point of view, this is also happening at the whole society level. These changes are supposed to lead us back to our inner beings, so we could start to feel again who we really are. and allow this power to synchronize everything in our lives and society as it manages and synchronizes the seasons and all the processes throughout the whole universe. Otherwise, we have nothing to do here anymore, probably. If you like the video, don't forget to like it, and thank you for watching, and I wish you a nice rest of the day.